For generations, retirement seemed pretty straightforward, right? You worked, you saved, you got a pension, and you were pretty much set. But today, it's become this incredibly complex puzzle. And the real challenge isn't just saving up a big pile of money. It's figuring out how to make that pile last for your entire life.
And wow, this quote just cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? This isn't some abstract financial problem we're talking about. It's a real, deep-seated fear. For millions of people, the single biggest worry isn't their health failing, it's their bank account hitting zero. And that fear, that's what's driving this huge search for a better way to do retirement.
Okay, so this brings us to the core question of this whole thing. What changed? Why has this process, something that used to be pretty much handled for us, become one of the most stressful financial challenges any of us will ever have to face? Let's dive in and break it down.
So the first piece of this puzzle is, honestly, a fantastic problem to have. We're living longer, a lot longer. But this amazing achievement has completely flipped the script on the old rules of planning for retirement.
Demographers actually have a name for this new reality. They call it the super age. It's what happens when 1 in 5 people in a country is over 65. Japan and Italy, they're already there, and the US is right on track to join them by 2030. So this isn't some distant future we're talking about. It's happening right now.
And just look at this timeline. I mean, the shift has been absolutely dramatic. Back in the early 1900s, if you lived to be 50, that was a good, long life. By the 60s, life expectancy was creeping up towards 70. But today, living past 80 is pretty common. And that means retirement is no longer this short, final chapter. It can be a 20 or even 30-year journey that you have to pay for.
Okay, so that's piece number one. The second piece of the puzzle is just as massive. Right at the very moment we started living longer, the financial safety net that was supposed to catch us, well, it started to vanish. The responsibility just shifted from the big institutions right onto us as individuals.
And the difference here is it's night and day. The old defined benefit pension system was pretty simple. Your company guaranteed you a paycheck for life. They took on the risk. The new defined contribution system, like a 401k, basically gives you a pot of money and says, good luck. You have to bear all the risk yourself.
And get this, for millions of people, even that good luck pot of money isn't an option. We're talking about nearly 58 million Americans in the private sector who don't even have access to a retirement plan at work. That makes the do-it-yourself challenge almost impossible.
Plus, all the financial burdens we deal with today are taking a huge bite out of our ability to save. I mean, look at this example. A millennial with about 30 grand in student loans could end up with over $325,000 less for retirement than someone without that debt. That's a massive hit.
And the immediate reality is just as tough. About a third of Americans can't even cover a simple $400 emergency. When you're living that close to the edge, how on earth are you supposed to save for something that's 30 years away? It feels like a total luxury.
So you put all of these pieces together and it leads to one incredibly difficult task. The experts call it decumulation. Saving the money, that's accumulation, is hard enough, but turning that lump sum into a steady paycheck that you can't outlive, especially when you have no idea how long you'll live or what the market's going to do, that, my friends, is the real puzzle.
But here's the good news. This massive challenge is sparking some incredible innovation. Experts are completely rethinking this system, trying to figure out ways to create a sort of personal pension for the 21st century. So let's explore some of these really exciting new ideas. Some of the most promising ideas out there, like these collective defined contribution plans, work on a really simple but powerful principle: pooling risk. Think of it this way. Instead of every person facing retirement alone in their own little rowboat, people group their money together into a bigger, more stable ship. This lets them share the risks of the market going down or the risk of living a really long time, and it creates a much more stable, predictable income for everyone involved.
And this isn't just a theory either. Countries like Canada are actually building frameworks for what they're calling dynamic pension pools. And you can see from their goals here, the whole point is to create universal access, to protect people from outliving their money, and to make sure the entire system is strong and transparent. It's a real-world example of these ideas in action.
And the results of pooling? They can be absolutely dramatic. Research shows that a collective plan can generate a retirement income that's 30 or even higher than what you could safely create on your own. For the average person, that is a life-changing difference.
So all this brings us to the final and maybe the most important part of the puzzle. As we're designing these new systems, we have to face a really fundamental question about what we actually value most. This quote from an Australian official just perfectly captures the whole debate. Should a system give you total freedom to do whatever you want with your money, even if it might lead to a really bad outcome? Or should it be designed to sort of gently guide you toward a more secure future? It's a tough one.
Ultimately, the entire conversation is shifting. For decades, the goal was always about accumulating some big, impressive number in your account. But the real goal for the 21st century isn't the number itself. It's about engineering a system that turns that number into a reliable paycheck that shows up every single month for life.
And that really leaves us with this final question. When it comes to our financial future, what do we truly want? Do we want the absolute freedom of choice with all its possibilities and all of its risks? Or do we want the security and the peace of mind that comes from being freed from having to make this incredibly complex, high-stakes decision all by ourselves? The answer to that is going to define retirement for generations to come.